The message that I feel deeply called to pass on is, with empathy and humanity, the choices we make moving forward in our individual lives and in society will be good for everyone. And when we abandon our empathy and we abandon our humanity to get to the answer, to get the money, to get whatever, we are in big trouble.
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsey Simsick.
Tune in for a new episode every Tuesday to hear our honest conversations about topics like wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and self-development with guests who are really smart, really inspirational,
and really fucking funny. It's real, it's raw, and it's unfiltered.
Inspired by our transition from our 20s to our 30s, we realized it's so much more than that. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to help you navigate any transitions in your life and propel your personal growth.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go. This week, man.
Yo, guys, this week has been wild. It's been a wild ride.
It's testing my, I don't know. I just feel like I've been like hit in the face a few times. There's been like highs and just some what the fucks.
I feel like I'm on the highway going too fast and there's tons of bugs hitting my windshield.
Yeah, 100%.
I just feel like, so Lindsey and I have had 3 scheduling things like with calendars and that have gone wrong, and invites and locations and you know what's also, dude, on Friday, I fucking missed a coaching call. Didn't miss it, but I was in an appointment. And it was, I thought so when I schedule, my schedule's tight. So when I schedule, I'm like, if it's an hour, I only allot an hour and there's something after that hour. And this went 2 hours. This morning, my appointment, best appointment of my life, would have gone 3 hours if I let it.
Wow.
I rushed out at 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Rushed out.
Yeah.
So this morning I was at, you guys, I was at Human Garage. Yo.
I cannot wait. My appointment's next week.
It was the craziest thing I've ever done in my life.
We'll get excited. We'll get excited because we're having them on the podcast.
Yo,
so we're going to talk all about it.
It's going to be the best podcast episode ever. I'm already imagining. I want to do like chapters. I want to do like chapters with him.
Love.
And like do like specific things. So Human Garage is a holistic body, spirit, energy, fascia, every single thing, every single part of your body. And it really is about how every single thing is connected. Mm-hmm. So as an example, I have, sometimes I get a rash on on certain places in my body. It's like contact dermatitis. And I don't know if it's something I'm eating or something like that. Maybe it's too many nuts. Being vegan, I eat a lot of nuts. I eat a lot of cashew milk, coconut milk, barucas, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a rash right now on my neck. I just got it last night. And then it's also on a certain place in my arm. And he goes, he looks at this rash area and he's like, that's from your large intestine, which is the meridian lines of your large intestine on those exact areas. And your large intestine is backed up. And then like does a work with his hands, like moving my large intestine so that it finally like releases. And I'm able to like, I'll be able to, he's like, you're going to have like a big bowel movement.
A crazy one.
Wow. And then also, we talked about, so I have scar tissue on my my lower back, like these certain areas. And there's something, I don't know if I fell or something happened that I have all these scar tissue buildup, but it causes me to really lean a lot on my one side. And we were able to like work that out through like these like chiropractic moves. And he has like, honestly, so he's working on me and he has literally 5 people on his team working on me too.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's my
So
favorite.
I'm laying there and I'm like, he's doing something. He did this thing with the inside of my jaw.
Can't wait.
And then someone on his team is like touching my right foot. And then he's like, hey, Lisa. And he uses like, she puts one acupuncture needle in my arm. Mm-hmm. And like, it's the craziest thing. Wow. It was the most holistic health experience I've ever done in my whole life.
I cannot.
He like asked me what my sign was when we were going through because I had my lipoma removed. And oh my gosh, it was just like and he is so aware. Like you guys are going to listen on the podcast when he's on. His name's Gary, but there are so many things that are going on right now that we don't know about that are impacting our health in crazy ways. Like, so the CIA is testing this sort of new, it's not like a technology, but it's a new method of spraying in the ozone. So they are spraying something that would basically linger in the top of the ozone and reflect to the sun. And they're hopeful that they can help reduce global warming and help cool down the earth and cool down the temperature. Well, this is like toxic. So they're spraying this like toxic substance. There's videos on there. You can find videos of the CIA saying this. So it's one of the methods that they're testing that hopefully can like, it would reflect. So basically it would provide a barrier that would reflect the sun and hopefully not heat up the earth so much and have all the things that are happening with global warming. But they're spraying something in the system, in our like air supply and system. So there's just like so many things like that. And he was talking about, it's interesting too. So he posted about fluoride on his Instagram and it got taken down by Instagram. It was a picture of a brain and he posted like fluoride is bad for you. It's actually like found in paint and it's never been tested for human consumption and people have it regularly. And his post got taken down from Instagram. Said it was like offensive content.
Out.
Yeah. So I was thinking about when our pod got taken down for a day. It's like, I wonder what we were talking about.
That is so interesting.
There's so much more about the fluoride thing too. He was talking about like
the global warming thing is freaking me out.
Yo,
we have
I'll show you the video.
Fucking idiots in the CIA.
Yo, there's like video from the CIA saying that too. And then he was saying also that's so interesting. So he's like something with the body and our body alignment that we don't take into consideration is gravity. So gravity obviously is the force that's working against you at all hours of the day. It's not just pulling you down. Our earth is turning on its axis at all times. So right now, our body, if we were in Australia, our body would be pulling us down and to the left. If we are in the United States where we are based on where the earth axis is and how fast it's rotating at one time, we're being pulled down consistently down and to the right. So our body is compensating for that our entire lives. So that's why there's a lot of times when our misalignments happen because the gravitational force is pulling us down. So we always overcompensate in some way, like by pulling ourselves straight, by making ourselves be straight. Dude,
this is going to be the best of all time.
It was just crazy. There's pictures too. Like he has pictures through our treatment of like how like I look different and like my face is different. It's crazy. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys, so we're going to have them on the Gary of Human Grudge on the podcast, which is going to be awesome. We're going to have his wife on. She's a crazy ass story. Her story's so crazy. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And then Human Grudge is actually making a lot of their resources educational and available online.
Smart.
So he's like, he kept saying it 100 times. He's like, we get people in here that are so rich. It's insane. He's like, and they never want to learn the tools. They just want us to fix them. They just want to come in and like get a treatment and then buy. He's like, we really want to teach people how to do these things on their own. And so everything he taught or he did for the most part, I could do like myself, or I could like think about, or I could like try and work on myself. Crazy. I'm trying to think of like what else. There was one too. I was like, so he aligned me and then I was like rubbing on my like left shoulder. He's like, oh, because we moved your like right shoulder, your left rib is like now popping out more. So we're going to have to like kind of move that like back in. So it's like back in alignment. And the way that my head goes really far forward for my back. It really should be like so much further back. He's like, so because your head is so far forward, the pressure that you're putting on your back and neck is 45 pounds versus your 12-pound head. Yeah. So now I have like all this scar tissue and like muscle that's built up at the top of my back. That's part of like where my lipoma was.
I can imagine too, like a lot of people do that because we're always just kind of like reaching forward with our head to like talk or be on our phone. Or oh, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
So he said about the large intestine. So he moved it.
Yep.
Do you have to do anything else?
So he moved it, and then he was able to move everything that was like stuck in there. And now I just really have to like focus on like hydrating today, and then we'll just go through the series of treatments, and I'll be able to like learn how I can like do that myself and how I can like prevent that.
Wow.
And then also too, my lung was like stuck to my rib cage. So we moved my lung away from my rib cage.
The heck?
Yeah. He moved my lung away from my rib cage. And so now my lung is able to fully expand where it wasn't before. Wow. Yeah. It was, I mean, and like, so, okay. And I don't even want to speak for him, but I'm just so excited by this information. But he was talking about, okay, so our brain is basically the control center for our body. Yeah. So it takes direction from what our body is telling it to do. We think that our mind tells our body what to do. He's like, but actually the fascia is where we like hold on the information and all of our emotions, but our body asks for that information from our muscles and our fascia. Okay. So it's basically like the body is the computer center, but the fascia and your muscles is where everything is stored. Wow. Isn't that crazy? So if you think about it, like all the connective tissue, all the fascia, like holds all the information that you've like given it your whole life, you know, whether that's fear or shame or, you know, like indecision, whatever it is, your brain reaches out to certain parts or places for where fascia lives on your body to like retrieve that information and then like either processes it with an emotion through your heart or just like does through your brain. So it's just, there's so much, like there was so much that's connected with the body that is kind of missed in a lot of other treatments that, you know, you can really do on your own. And I always thought my psoas were weak, but it was like my hips are just way too tight.
Wow.
I can't wait till you get it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So many questions.
Literally it was another thing. I was like, oh, it was really long.
What a gift to like know your body better. Do you know what I mean? Because like, I feel like when you know your body better, then you don't get mad at it. Like, because I can imagine like,
it's only
if you're, say you're constipated and you're like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? You're just sending that energy to your body that is like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't trust you. And like to know that like you can have the power to kind of prevent it. I mean, that's like new powerful work that he's doing. Both of them are doing.
It's the most powerful work I've ever seen in like, in the health and body space. Like there's a place for everything, you know, and he talks about, he has medical doctors on staff. He has tons of them. He has chiropractors on staff. He has tons of different people that are on staff that support him and that work with him. So it's not just like, it's like willy-nilly. Everything's researched, you know what I mean? It's like to the T, very, very, very professional. Oh, there was another thing too. So with my face, we did like a little cranial sacral. It's not craniosacral. It's like cranialopathy or something. And we're able to like release a little bit of tension from like the top of my head, which like released tension from my face, which like made my face look different. The pictures are nuts. I'll have to show you. Crazy. It just makes me like excited, but also sad. Because I'm like,
now I'm going to be there every week.
Every day. And I'm just thinking about all the things, you know, like.
It makes me sad because I think of my parents. I'm like, I wish they could go.
Oh, I was thinking with my dad, he said something. He's like, said something about something that made me think of my dad and that made me wish that my dad would be there.
You know?
Yeah. Yes. Very much so. Yeah. So yeah, that was fucking crazy. It's going to be
so exciting. Stay tuned for those episodes. It's going to be like a whole volume.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole volume.
So good.
So we're out here just fucking schedules up.
Fucking schedules up, getting our cranial sacral massages.
Yes. Actually, we're not fucking schedules up, but there's something going on. There's something like, going on.
But this usually happens. I don't know if any of you out there, if this happens to you, where like it's a pattern.
Yeah.
So like the theme this week is fucking schedules up. And whether it's us doing it or other people doing it, it's just happening. And I don't know, but it certainly reminded us to just double check, triple check, tighten things up.
Yeah. I need to work on too with our schedule. Like I want to do this more is like, or just focus on this is like making days for things, you know, like Monday is call day with clients and partners. Friday is call day only about whatever it is that we have calls about. And then doing recording like Monday, Tuesday, or doing recording Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right now we're doing like a little bit of everything every day. And it's very hard. Just it uses different parts of your brain and energy. So, and
then like for as an example, like I have so many follow-ups right now, but we have this interview. So it's like, it'd be nice if I had all these calls and I could do all the follow-up, you know, and
like
not
when
like
you're in the zone,
have it be broken up. Yeah,
totally. I'm sure everyone can relate. If you have your own business, you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, today? For real.
Okay. Today in the podcast, we have Jessica
Lanyadoo. Woohoo! She's great. Oh man, she was a gem.
She's so fun.
She is so cool. I just love her. I love her vibe. I'm so glad it was on video.
We'll have to post that video because she has this like rad little setup, and just
she's in Oakland.
She can have her own little show in that room.
100%.
She has like this beautiful hair. She has this neon sign.
She's fun and cool.
She was so fun and present and just excited. When someone's passionate about what they do, I don't care what you do. You could honestly package hot dogs, and if you are loving it, I am loving it.
Same. That's the thing is like I always say, I'm like, I want to work with professionals. Even if you're a professional at like checking out, you know, being working at the grocery store, like just like be a professional means like give a shit about what you do. And Jessica's an astrologer. So she has been an astrologer for years and years before it was cool.
Oh yes.
She like has been in the game forever. I actually saw her on a documentary or on a show that I watched on Netflix called Explained. So there's an explained episode on the Netflix series about astrology. That's really interesting. So she was on there. And I follow her on Instagram at Jessica Lanyadoo on Instagram. And she also has a podcast, Ghost of a Podcast. And she writes for Girlboss, The Hoodwitch. So she's an astrologer all over the world. And this was just a really fun interview about astrology. We talked about Saturn Return. We talked about a lot of things. She gave us a little reading. So you'll see what's happening with Lindsey and I.
Yes. She's a psychic medium as well.
Yeah. She's me. Oh, she talks to animals too.
She talks to animals.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about talking to animals too.
Oh yeah, our readings got real.
Yeah, they're real. So like,
no judgment, guys.
No judgment, guys. But it actually like kind of fucked me up a little bit.
Every reading fucks me up a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit. That. There's like always a piece of information that I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine really fucked me up.
Well, now you're going to Human Garage.
Yeah, literally. Exactly. I'm doing the best I can. Yes. So we are excited for this one. She's great. So thank you, Jessica, for being on the podcast. And then a few announcements from us.
Yes. So just immediately, we will be in Vancouver in a few weeks. So that is happening December 4th and 6th. We're so excited. We'll be doing a fitness event, and then we will also be doing a more spiritual event with our babe, Brie Melanson. Really excited. So visit almost30podcast.com/tour. You can get your tickets there. They will sell out, just so you know. So we want you there. We want to see you and meet you. And then what else? We have launched our yourpodcastpro.com. So Krista and I will be launching a 6-week program in January. This is really exciting. We are so passionate about podcasting, and we've learned so much. You know, we're going to kind of help you skip the steps that we made mistakes on, and just give you the tools that you need to build a successful podcast and brand and feel really good about it.
Yeah. A lot of people have asked us how to start a podcast. How do you monetize? How do you market? How do you brand? So we just put this all in one place. So you can go to Your Podcast Pro. That's YOUR podcastpro.com. And there you can find a bunch of downloadables for, your media kit, for your podcast pro guide. And then you can also sign up for our 8-week course, which is 6 calls with a 6-week course, unless you guys want to hang longer, for our course. And we will be sharing all of the secrets of how to be a how to be an amazing podcast like this. But really, we're truly doing this because we get asked so much and we really want to share the information. And we know that podcasting has changed our lives. So happy to share what we know so it can change yours too.
Yeah, we love you. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. Thank you for joining the secret Facebook group. There are like 8,000 of you in there. So join the group. We can talk about this episode, any other episode, anything that you're going through. It's a supportive, loving community that people have said is kind of like the light of the internet for in their world. So that is always a very nice compliment.
Yes.
But we love you and we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy this episode.
See you on the flip.
Bye.
I use so much from Thrive Market. This morning as an example. Layered superfood creamer. Put that in my matcha. My matcha is from Thrive. I also use the apple cider vinegar, which is more affordable from Thrive. And then their coconut oil, I oil pull.
Yeah. I mean, literally you can get anything.
Yeah. It's the basics for living like a healthy life.
So you can shop for thousands of the best-selling organic foods and natural products at 25 to 50% below traditional retail prices, which is just incredible. And it comes straight to your door, which
packaged
is so nice.
really, really nicely.
So nice.
They do a beautiful job. I don't know how much they spend. I'm like, how do you guys?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, do you have a person do this? And
honestly,
I think they do.
Everything is thoughtfully packaged.
So they charge a small membership fee for only $60 a year, roughly $5 per month. You're able to access all of the organic food you need. So with every paid membership, this is amazing. A free membership is given to a low-income family, public school teacher, military veteran, or first responder. And if you don't make back the $60 in savings, which you definitely will, Thrive Market has a happiness guarantee and will refund you the $60. This rarely is refunded because most people save much.
You save a lot of money.
And now, so excited, they just launched clean wine. So it's made from organic, biodynamic, or sustainably farmed grapes. They are sourced from small and mid-sized producers. It's thoughtfully curated, which I always love because I don't do my research that much on wine. So to have someone curate it and do the research for me is so great. No added sugar during the winemaking process, minimal filtration.
That's the best part. Like people wonder about wine, and I've wondered about where to get clean wine.
Completely.
Low sugar wine that doesn't make me feel like crap, that isn't full of, so many additives. So it's really, really nice that Thrive Market is now participating in, the wine part of this, and you can just trust that you're going to get great stuff.
It's the best. So you can go to thrivemarket.com/almost30 and use our code almost30 to get an extra 25% off your first order, and a box of wine, capped at $20 off your order. So you go to thrivemarket.com/almost30, use our code almost30. The new collagen pop from Hum Nutrition is my go-to. This is going to make your skin look supple as hell. It is going to upgrade your water. It's delicious. It's premium marine collagen, which is highly absorbable and what we prefer. But Hum Nutrition is your one-stop shop for all high-quality vitamins. It's really hard to surpass these strict regulations in the vitamin industry, and they meet all of the high quality standards. And leading nutritionists recommend Hum across the country, all over the world. They always have an outstanding experience with this brand. So how it works, you go on to humnutrition.com, you take a 3-minute quiz. It's like a little questionnaire, and they will create your own unique vitamin and supplement profile. And then you get a free nutritionist report. So a personal registered dietitian will review your data and then send you a personal profile and then some recommendations. And then you can customize your cart, whether using all of those recommendations or picking and choosing. And then you get them and then you change your life. Okay? Hum Nutrition has definitely changed my life. Right now, I am obsessed with the red carpet. So I'm just all about glowing skin, really healthy, beautiful hair. It's a staple of mine. Love it so much. And as always, the raw beauty powder that I put into basically every one of my smoothies.
and the collagen pop, as I mentioned before. Got it in my purse right now. Little sparkly collagen pop. Love it. HumNutrition.com. Use our code ALMOST30NATION for 15% off your first order. So that's HumNutrition.com. Almost30Nation is the code, and you get 15% off your first order.
I've been thinking a lot about the book, The Giving Tree, and how the best book.
It is.
That was such a sad book.
It was deeply sad, but
Deeply sad.
It prepared us for the world, though, didn't it?
Totally did.
Totally.
But also, I've just been thinking about that tree a lot. I'm like, God, that poor tree. Boundaries. Tree needed boundaries.
Or the tree was like the martyr tree in us all. I don't know. Yeah, the tree needed boundaries. So I've been told that maybe I should just take out my earring and can you guys hear me okay? Obviously I have okay, great. You have a real system.
Yeah, it sounds great. No, it sounds perfect.
Yeah. Great. I mean, I have a fancy microphone. It sounds like shit usually, so I don't use it.
No, you sound great. Your hair looks beautiful.
Thank you so much. You guys have beautiful hair too. I'm really sad I'm not in LA with you.
I know, me too.
Next time you're here, we'll definitely.
I would love that. I got so sad when I got the email being like, "Come to this location." I was like, I wish I could.
Yeah, you're like,
sorry about that.
Maybe next
don't be
time.
Sorry. I mean, be sorry that I don't live in sunny LA, I suppose. But and are you at a house or at a studio as well?
Yeah, we're at my apartment. So we set up a studio in my apartment. We were in like professional studios for a while, and it just like was great. But it's so nice to like have it in your home and chill. And we do work here. And
I don't like leaving home. It feels like such an imposition. And I have to say, you're now blocking it, but there is it vintage, that fireplace behind you?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I know what that fireplace is. I love those.
Yeah,
what is it called again?
It's like a cone, blah, blah.
Someone walked in there like, I love your...
I know.
Lacey did. She's like, I love your...
I'm going to find out and I'm going to let you know. I'll email you.
I Googled them a lot. I am obsessed with those. Do you use it?
Yeah, it's really easy to use. So in the winter, you can burn an easy fire. You just open up the chute and just go straight up. Right now there's crystals in there, but...
have you done a fire?
Yeah, last year. Yeah, sick. By myself. Cool.
I just got one of those and they're cool, but now I have so much energy stuck behind it. You have to like really be conscious about clearing the energy behind it because there's so much that gets stuck behind like a fireplace.
Yeah, I have a fireplace in my home and I have a million crystals on it, and I just feel like it just like moves the shit, you know. But I also I stage the inside of my fireplace whenever I stage the house.
Yeah,
you do? That's really smart.
Yeah. The key with burning sage is to get in those crannies where they could collect energy.
What kind of crannies? Can we give our... We're actually recording.
We're recording.
So, okay, we're recording. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
So basically the thing that people do, which is a huge mistake when they're clearing a space with something like sage, is they're like burning the sage and waving it above their head, which is very cinematic, but it doesn't actually work because smoke rises. So what you're actually supposed to do is get on the goddamn floor and like sage under your bed, under your chair, in the literal corners. And then the smoke will rise. It'll rise to the center of the room. It'll rise into your ceiling. So you don't have to worry about clearing your ceiling. You have to clear the space you actually live in, which is where your feet are, where you put your ass, where you put your whole body. So I sage the studio several times a day. And when I do, I'm saging my chair, my client chair, the desk where people put their coats, the places where people tend to train their eyes because that's collecting energy. So it's like very common sense for something so woo.
Yeah. For training your eyes, what do you mean? Like where you always find your eyes going towards?
Yep. So like, for instance, because in my studio, what I'm doing is like, I'm sitting here, people are sitting directly in front of me and they're having like intense experiences and often like kind of emotionally trying experiences. They will often fix their eyes on a location, right? So they'll stare at a thing. And that thing will be a place where they're unintentionally throwing their energy. And so I clear it as a courtesy for the next person who comes in the room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's a lot of work.
I know.
A day in the life.
Yeah. Do you sometimes are you ever like, ugh. I always just wonder, if as a medium and stuff, some days after a session, are you like, ugh, like I feel gross or I feel icky?
Sometimes, like if I'm channeling a person in spirit who had a very violent or difficult end, like what comes to mind is several months ago, I had somebody who, he had a very violent end. And when he came through, my mouth filled with blood, and it didn't, like I had to look in the mirror to make sure that it wasn't actually filling with blood, but it felt and tasted like it. And that one took me a while to clear out of my system. And it definitely was not my favorite experience. But I love what I do, and it doesn't creep me out. I know people hear like, I talk to dead people and they think of horror movies, but from my experience, it's the most pure thing I do. It's like talking to people that are stripped of artifice, who are in spirit, and facilitating a conversation for people who are in grief, and most people who have grief, whether it's a lost dog or a lost human, it's like you can't really share it with other people because it's so like yours. And it's like you don't want to burden people, right? And people have a very low tolerance for other people's tragedy and pain often. And so being able to provide a service where I am right here with them, and I can validate who that person in spirit is, and I can experience the pain with them on its own, just it is really an honor. I don't mean to sound cheesy or anything. I guess I am naturally cheesy though, but yeah, it's actually really an honor, and it's not creepy.
How do you then? So I think about that a lot. And I've really been working on, I guess but so feeling someone's being compassionate for the way someone's feeling, but also being boundaried in a way where I'm not taking it on, and I'm not, because that isn't my feeling, but I have compassion for the experience a lot of times and I'm talking to, I guess, my experience talking to our community and talking to people that have been through things when I can relate, obviously I do, but how do you boundary yourself so that you're not taking it on too much where like it's now yours?
Yeah. It's a full-time job. It is one of the hardest things that I do. I would say having healthy boundaries is a lot harder than talking to dead people or interpreting a birth chart. And it's because we tend to have an easy time having healthy boundaries with shit that doesn't trigger us, right? And it's the stuff that gets in your blind spot. It's the stuff that you haven't fully resolved from childhood, or you have judgments towards yourself around. That kind of stuff is where we tend to be the most porous. So, if you both have a podcast and you both have access to the same listeners with the same issues, you're each going to be porous to different issues and be more affected by it, just because you're going to resonate with different stuff. And so for me, boundaries is like my obsession, and I do a million things. And on a psychological and emotional level, my approach is generally to focus on, as soon as I kind of catch myself being like, this is what she said, and this is what she did, and this is what she meant, and this is her backstory, I'm like, okay. That is how I know that I've strayed off the path, because when we're focusing on what somebody else is thinking, doing, feeling, instead of taking responsibility for how we're responding and how it hits us, that's when it goes from kind of like compassion and empathy to pity and to like projection, right? And so psychologically and emotionally, that's one thing I try to really track, is like keeping my eyes on my own homework, basically. And then on an energy level, I do so many, and I don't know how woo you want me to go, but I do hella things.
We're there.
Yeah, to like clear other people's energy, to set my own energy boundaries. And I can say, like, from a woo perspective, what we often do, especially females or people nurtured as female, queer folks, what we often do is we make ourselves small as a way to not be a target. And that actually doesn't keep you safe on an energetic plane. Generally speaking, the bigger you get and the more you inhabit your wholeness, you're safer, because then you can tell when an energy or whatever is encroaching your space, because you're fully present in your space, And so practicing being really present and whole and full is really an important part of boundaries on a woo-woo level. And I think it's like especially difficult for females, because we're told to like starve ourselves and be small. And so we have this like association physically and spiritually with like being less instead of being more. And I think it hurts us spiritually as well as all the other ways that we know.
Wow. When you were talking about the projection thing, I was getting a little tap on the back of my head because I've been doing that lately.
Yeah. It's an easy one to do, especially if you are empathetic, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to make sense of it. Like your instincts say one thing, and then your brain's like, okay, so now how do I figure that out? What do I make use of that as? Or how do I turn it into a story? And I think that's where we get into projections, because we want to like figure out something that's actually not our business to figure out. When we get that information, sometimes we just need to breathe into the information and let it kick around, which is hard to do because we want to do something. Mm-hmm. And energy work is doing something, but it on the surface looks like passivity.
That's interesting.
Look at us starting in the middle.
I know. Let's go back.
I love it.
As always, we kind of start in the middle and then reverse. So have you always known you've had this gift? Like when did you really start to appreciate it? Did it ever scare you? And of course, just introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay. Okay. So I am Jessica Lanyadoo, and I am an astrologer and psychic medium and animal communicator. Also, lady with a big mouth, if we're being honest. So I didn't always know. I look back and I'm like, oh, it was always there, but I didn't always know that I was a psychic, that I actually didn't even believe that there was such a thing as psychic. I was just like a jaded pragmatist. I'm from Montreal, where everybody is just like, it's kind of, East Coast vibes. And I didn't think that there was such a thing as psychic. I have always been interested in and studied astrology. I started when I was 12. And so I studied astrology and lived astrology. And then when I was 19, I moved to San Francisco to be an astrologer. And people would be like, oh, you're psychic. And I'd be like, no, you just don't understand. Astrology is that real. And I to a certain extent, I still stand by that. But also it turns out I was psychic. And also it turns out I could talk to dead people. So that kind of developed through my work as an astrologer, because I was already consulting with people as an astrologer full time by the time I was like, oh shit, maybe this isn't just chance for me being a good astrologer. Maybe I actually know stuff. So it kind of was like, oh, I guess I am psychic. And then it kind of unfolded to, I guess I do talk to dead people. And then it unfolded to, oh shit, my cat's talking to me. Okay, that's happening. What? So it was just kind of like this, it's like unfolding through stages. And it's really cool actually, because as I grow and I become more kind of grounded in myself, I discover new skills. And I think they were always there. I just wasn't able to use them yet. I wasn't able to access them, which I think is true with all crafts, really.
Yeah. What was going on during that time that perhaps was blocking you from really seeing it or feeling it fully?
Yeah. I didn't want to be psychic. It was hard enough to be an astrologer. I mean, it's 2018, right? And everybody loves witches and astrologers. It's like so on trend. But when I started working as an astrologer in 1994, it was not on trend, I should tell you. It was not cool. And it wasn't accepted. And so the judgment towards psychics, I mean, I was guilty of it. I had judgment towards psychics too. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was like quackery. And I grew up at a time of like Miss Cleo and all that kind of stuff.
I miss her.
I mean, I miss her too. And also we had in Quebec, Jojo, which is like the French Canadian version. And bless her soul, I really love her. She's a huge inspiration to me. These people were, women who were kind of made into a joke. And so I think that right now we have all this validation in mainstream kind of culture around witches and even like psychic mediums and astrologers, certainly. But that's very new. So I didn't want to be, I didn't believe it was possible, and I didn't want to find out, basically. That said, there's a lot of different ways of being an astrologer. I am like a helper. That is what I want to be of service. And so I'll never forget like the moment where I was like, shit, I have to actually acknowledge that this is happening. I was giving tarot readings at a bar, and a woman came in and she was just like, I've heard that you're psychic. And I was like, no, girl, I'm not psychic. I can read your cards. I can read your chart. I'm not psychic. And she was like, but I have a ring from a man. Will you hold the ring and tell me about this experience? What's happening in my relationship? And I was like, no, I can't. And she was like, I beg of you, please. I'm making it sound dramatic, but it was. She was very emotional. And I was like, okay, I can't do it. But if you really want to pay for me to try, I can, if you want. And she insisted. So I held the ring. She was this really beautiful young woman. And it was in a lesbian bar, I should say. And so I held the ring, and in my mind, I could see really clearly this short, not attractive in my mind, bald man. And I was like, this ring is from this short, bald dude. And he was much older than her. He was very pretty and young. So it was I was sure I was wrong. So I started telling her what he looked like. And she was like, oh my God, that's him. He gave me this ring and I love him and all these things. And so I just told her what I could perceive. And then she was like, okay, now I have another ring. I'm torn between these two men. And I held the other ring. And it was another short, bald man. She had it. And I was just again, when I saw this other, I was like, okay, so clearly I'm just making shit up right now. And so I told her what I saw and she was like, oh my God, it's true. And that experience was so out of the blue. There was no way I would have guessed any of the things that I saw, that I said. There was nothing I could kind of explain it away with or blame it on. And it was this pivotal moment for me where I was like, I have to acknowledge that there's something here that I can't explain away. I wasn't looking at a chart. She didn't give me any leading information. The context was all wrong for what I was seeing. So that was really pivotal. And I had a number of really pivotal experiences not long after that around communicating with the dead, where I was just the things I knew were verified by the client, and just there was no way that I could have possibly known them. And what I've come to find is that resisting it is harder than doing it for me. So, and I don't think that's everybody's experience, but that has been my experience, is that kind of once the door is open, it's just it's an open door for me. And because I already work with clients, it just kind of is really flowed. And so, it's complicated. I think about a month ago only now, I went to the San Francisco Spiritualist Church, the Golden Gate Spiritualist Church. I don't know if you've heard of spiritualism. I hadn't, but it's basically a church of mediums, and they've been around since the 1850s. And
wow,
yeah,
cool.
It's so cool. And I had no idea it existed, but they invited me to do a night of mediumship, and a couple hundred people showed up, and I was really trembling, scared, because I'm not much of a performer. I'm not really. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I didn't know if I could communicate with dead people in that way, where it's I see your grandmother or whatever. I had no idea, one-on-one. So it's really obvious to me, the dead person I'm seeing is yours, right? And it was a life-changing experience, because I was able to do it, and I gave 2 hours of readings to a bunch of people in the room, and there was a lot of intense, just really intense things. And again, it was this thing of, I just knew all this shit. And it's I shouldn't sound so surprised, I guess, but it's amazing. And it's an honor, it's a weird gift to have and to be able to share with people. And it, showed me this other skill set I have that I didn't realize I had, that I could actually do this in rooms of people. Who knew? I didn't know. The person who invited me had a pretty good idea, but I didn't. I thought I was going to fail. But I think that that's an important thing to say, is that with spiritual development, just like being an artist or being a chemist, it's you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to do something and not be good at it in order to find out that you are surprisingly good at it. It's the only way of doing things, is being kind of willing to explore your capacity. And that is something that I challenge myself to do in my work a lot.
I actually went to last night. There's a friend of a friend. He's a medium, in training, I guess. And so he was practicing readings on everyone in the room, which was really sweet. And I didn't actually think about that, in the process of becoming a medium or a spiritual advisor, that you would practice, you would kind of hone your craft and work on the messages and work on your voice and your delivery of it, or your interpretation of it. But so that was interesting that you said that. So for astrology, what originally got you into astrology? And then what was it like reading charts in 1994? Like, did you have a bunch of clients or what was that like?
Mm-hmm. So nothing exactly got me into astrology. I remember being 6 years old on a Hot Wheel. And I remember thinking really clearly, and I have no idea where I learned this, but I remember thinking, I'm a Capricorn. I'm going to keep my wisdom teeth. And I have no idea how I knew
that is so funny.
I know. Capricorn governs teeth. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn governs teeth. Yes. And
I think Pisces is by the foot, right?
Pisces is the feet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My feet are nasty. So what does that mean?
The reason why, so basically what it does is it articulates like the reason why Pisces is related to the feet. It's because it's what's hidden. It's your foundation. It's your private foundation. Mm. And so, if you say your feet are nasty and you're a Pisces, I'm like, oh, you don't spend enough time alone. And when you spend time alone, you don't spend enough time taking care of you and like loving on you and connecting with yourself and your body.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, girl, it's
22
just
minutes in.
It's just there, see? But I just knew that like teeth, Capricorn, I was like, I'm going to keep my wisdom teeth. And I have so far, knocked on wood. But,
that's why you're so smart.
Well, I mean, I think I was just meant to be an astrologer. I think it's like, I think it was like kind of like in the noggin somehow. So my mother, luckily, is an odd woman. And so she saw that I was like, I would talk about astrology over the years. And she always had tarot cards and Ouija boards. And she didn't do anything with them, but she like had them, And when she saw that I was really interested in astrology, for my 12th birthday, she got me a book, a big ass astrology book. And I studied that shit like a Bible. And I then went to an alternative college, and there was an introductory to astrology class taught by a Jungian psychologist.
Cool.
And I took it, and then I was like, oh shit. Okay, so I'm going to move to San Francisco and become an astrologer, because at that time, the only place you could even consider making a living as an astrologer was San Francisco. So I moved out here, and I had a day job, and I did have clients, and my clients kind of grew over time. But what I did was I worked a couple different jobs, I think for about 7 or 8 years, while I was building my practice and building my expertise. And then I transitioned into full-time in 1999. But I would say it was probably about 7 years into private practice that it really started to be full-time. And
wow.
Yeah. So, and it's a very different world today. It's like I didn't have a website. There was no social media. It was before Rob Bresney, right? It was before astrology and Susan Miller, and these columns became part of the culture in this larger way. So being like, a lot of astrologers are like, I want the craft to be respected. And I mean, I personally don't want to be disrespected. I don't really care about that kind of thing. I don't feel the need to like fit in. I'm not bummed that I'm not a muggle. That's okay with me, and I don't need anyone else to go to Hogwarts or not. I don't, everybody gets their own path. So the thing with astrology and all the psychic stuff is it's on trend now. I don't expect it'll stay on trend forever, because it doesn't. And it's not the first time it's been very popular, right? So they tend to like cycle. And I just think, if tools work, use tools, and if spiritual tools are what's working, please use them. And if they stop working, don't use them. And all of that, I guess, is a little bit Buddhist sounding. It's just like, I'd like to have non-attachment to how people respond to the work and whether or not it's the right work for them. I think that a spiritual path is ideally a path of self-realization, and that requires self-reference and referring back to, does this work for me? Does it not work for me? And I think that's true, again, like across levels of the human development. So sometimes astrology will be amazing for you, and sometimes it won't be. And I'm very open to that. And I think that's probably part of why I have so many clients, is because I'm not like trying to force anyone down a particular path, except for self-acceptance.
Guys, I am so pumped. Justin couldn't believe that we are working with NutriBullet because my nickname at home is Jamba Juice. I am, much to his dismay, I am blending things up at 6 a.m. I am blending things up in the evening. I make smoothies, my teas, everything like that. So when NutriBullet said that they wanted to work with Lindsey and I could not have been more honored.
Yeah, truly. It's a brand that they've been around for so long. They've evolved with kind of the trends and the needs of people who are really serious about health and wellness. I'm just obsessed with this brand.
I am too. And then we've been working with them. So before I had the regular NutriBullet and I loved it, I've had it for years and years. And so I was really thankful that they sent us the Balance, because I have a tendency to
overpack
my smoothies. And I put so much in there. And, a lot of times I can get all the nutrients I need and not have as much. So it's kind of been a good eye-opening thing for me to have the Balance, the NutriBullet Balance, and then have the app and sort of track and see how much and how many calories and fat and carbs of everything in my smoothie that I'm putting in. So I'm not being hard and fast with anything, but it does really help me understand my nutritional macros and, whatever I'm having for my breakfast so that I can kind of take that into consideration for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's so great. And it's not intimidating. I'll be honest, sometimes when brands say they've made things more high tech, I get nervous. This is so user friendly, not intimidating at all. It's kind of fun. It makes the smoothie making, or if you're making soups or dressings, whatever you're making, really, really fun. So they've collaborated with nutritionists, dietitians, app developers, and just created this really fun experience. And you can customize it to fit your own needs, and you will just enjoy it. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, this is actually fun.
They have tons of recipes and smoothie types. Like you can be like, I want low sugar, or I'm diabetic, I'm vegan, I need high protein. So on the app, you have the ability to get all these amazing recipes tailored to whatever your diet needs are.
Yeah. And so with the help of Bluetooth technology and the Smart Nutrition sensor, it's able to actually tell you the calories, protein, carbs, fat, and sugar intake based on the ingredient volume in the actual container of the NutriBullet Balance. So it's really exciting technology, making your life easier. The more you know, I think it's just really powerful to have that information as you nourish your body. So for our listeners, we're really, really excited. We get to offer you 25% off if you use the code ALMOST30 at checkout. So you can go to NutriBulletBalance.com and use our code ALMOST30 for 25% off. So that's NutriBulletBalance.com. Code is ALMOST30 for 25% off. I know you caught me 5 days in a row.
I know. Well, I wore, when we were in Seattle for our tour too, I was able to wear the romper set, which is bomb.
So
it was
nice.
It just made me, it was like something that I felt really good in and was comfortable. And so now I wear it all the time.
Yeah, brass clothing is amazing. So this basically solves all of my problems. I know myself for purchasing kind of on impulse and sale items or emotional shopping, or feeling like, oh, I need to buy this because it's on trend. And then literally a month later, no one's wearing it. It doesn't even matter. And these pieces are timeless, they are comfortable, they are well made, and they're fashionable, will always be. And it's kind of my style anyway. It speaks to me, and I'm loving the staples in my closet. So actually right now I love this raglan sweater. It has these kind of sheer sleeves, and it's black, obviously.
That's very you.
Yeah.
I like brass because I know when we connected with Katie, the founder, it really spoke to me when she was talking about feeling like she didn't know what to wear to work. And I worked in the corporate world for 8 or so years. And I always remember that. It was I would have my weekend clothes, and then I would have these clothes that I never felt good in. I never felt like I wanted to wear. And I just really wanted something basic for every day that I needed to be at the office or meetings or stuff like that. So brass is the perfect, comfortable, super cute, little dressed up. You can dress it down. It's quality, and you could wear it all the time. So love brass, love Katie, love the team, and just really excited to partner with them and for us to get some cute clothes.
Totally. And a lot of our listeners are starting new jobs, and we get those questions a lot. Where should we buy clothes for these new jobs?
Yeah, it's
something that's functional and cute and streamlined. You could just walk into your closet and be like, okay, done, and that be the least least like stress in your day.
Yep.
So we're really excited for our listeners. You can go to brassclothing.com, BRASS clothing.com, and you can use our code almost30 for 15% off your order. I think you girls are going to love this. So brassclothing.com, use our code almost30 for 15% off and show us what you got. Tag us. We want to see it. When you have questions, when you find yourself maybe stuck or unsure of where to go, what to do next, like what is your mode with all that you do? Channeling, tarot, astrology, like where do you turn? And maybe it's a combination of things, but a lot of our girls are always wondering kind of either as simple as like a daily message or guidance. So what do you do personally?
I mean, it really does depend on like the daily stuff. I do a lot of things every day. So I definitely I look at the transits of the day. I look at what's happening in my own chart. I do daily kind of like meditations that just are not predictive, but instead give me a sense of where to train my thoughts or where to train my attention. So what that might look like is I might get like a really dramatic read. I'm like, okay, so pay attention for drama. And then stay in alignment with how do I want to respond, not how should I react, So they're very different actions actually. So that's for the littler things. For the bigger stuff, I mean, I have people that I get readings from because I can look at my chart and kind of map things out, but I'm not objective with myself. I'm like, I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to struggle. So all I'm looking for is a way out when I look at my chart, which is not how I look at other people's charts, of course. I'm like, just what is the best path? So I have other people that I get readings from, not so much astrology, just because it's too much my point of reference. And also I have a good partner who's like super supportive and, woo in ways that work for me and not woo in ways that are really good for me as well. And friends. And I have cats. They're very supportive for me. They're like...
Cats rule.
Yeah, cats are the best. They're the
Cats
very
rule.
best. Yeah, I agree. Cats
What do they say? Yeah, what was the first thing your cat said to you?
Oh God. Well, the first thing my first cat that I knew was talking to me said to me was the water's boiling. And because I was like put on a kettle. I had a studio. It was like a work-live space. And it was like in the front was where I met with clients and in the back was the kitchen. And I would forget that I was boiling water for coffee in the morning. So I was like responding to emails like a good little Capricorn. And I would just like burn the water, when you just like burn the kettle. It's not proud. I just did it a lot. And then at a certain point, my cat, Cougar, he's now passed, unfortunately, but my cat would come into the studio and be like, hey, your water's boiling. And I'd be like, oh shit, okay, my water's boiling. And I'd run to the back. And then after a couple of days of that, I was like, wait a minute. I think my cat's telling me that my water's boiling. What the fuck? And so I would, I know, it's weird. And I was just like, at that point, I was like accepting psychic. I was like dealing with mediumship in a very big way. And this was just like, I mean, I did want to be Dr. Dolittle as a kid. Who doesn't? Like, who doesn't want to talk to animals? But I definitely was like, okay, but this is fucking crazy. So I would do this thing with him where I would be like, okay, if you understand me, you walk over here, you walk over this thing, go over there, come in this weird way, and then like sit on my lap. And he would do it. And I'd be like, oh, Joie, I can talk to animals. And then I would practice it with my other cat. And she'd be like, bitch, I don't care about this. This is not a game I'm playing with you. And so I would just practice and practice and practice. And again, I'm very lucky because I have clients. And so one of the things I do kind of as a matter of course now, when I'm giving a reading to someone and I have a block, like I can't see into something or I can tell that they're not telling me things. If there's an animal in the house, I'll just talk to the animal. And they will narc.
Wow.
Yeah, they will narc.
Animals narc.
Yeah, animals narc because you're totally honest with your
cool.
animals. Yeah, so they're just like, yeah, all she does is smoke weed and sit on my couch. And then I'm like, okay, now I know. Now I know. So let's talk about weed. Okay, whatever, right? So it's just one of those things where, that's really helpful for me. But also I've just had really, again, I feel really honored. I feel lucky to have the work I have in my life because I've been able to like talk to snakes and bunnies and cats and dogs and birds are weird. And, I was once in the desert and there were all these bats that were flying. I was staying in a house and there was all these bats flying around, which I was not into the bats. And they would like dive bomb into this pool at this place I was staying at. And it was pretty terrifying. And then I was like, oh, I'm an animal communicator. So I was just like, hey, don't come into the pool. It's dangerous. And they just stopped. And I was like, who knew? I was a magician.
Wow.
I know. I was impressed by that too.
What about, I was impressed by that too.
I think about birds a lot. Like I think Krista and I were talking about this the other day. There's a freaking exotic bird shop near where I live.
Dude.
Do birds like to be kept as pets?
I mean, do birds like to be kept in cages? No,
I know. I'm just like, there's a guy with a bird downstairs and he like told the bird to wave to me the other day. The bird waved and I was like, you didn't want to wave. Like, what are you doing?
Literally.
Well,
he's wearing like a little chain.
Literally.
I mean, I think that there's also the thing, of course, no. And also, you know, birds are people too. And I don't mean humans. I mean, like they have personhood and they're people. And if a bird is bred in captivity and doesn't know different, do they know different on the inside? Yes, of course they do. They have wings. They're supposed to fly. And also that doesn't mean they don't form their own bonds with their people.
I know.
I think it's complicated. I do know somebody who keeps birds, but they're all rescues. And I think that that's also really different than like from like a puppy mill. I don't know what the bird version of a puppy mill is, but it exists, right? You know, and I think I have complicated feelings about it myself, about birds.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, I saw you on Explained.
You did.
Yes.
That was a fun experience. Yeah.
I was so proud. I like go to my boyfriend. I'm like, we're going to talk to her next week. He's like, no way.
I will tell you this. I had just gotten off a plane. And I got to this conference and I was like, nobody's here. Weird. And I like didn't wash my face. I didn't put on makeup. I didn't do anything. And I was like, oh, what is this conference going to be like? And then I like was walking around the hotel and then I don't know how many hundreds, I don't know, maybe it was thousands of people. It was so many people came out of this. It was like the opening ceremony. And I was in a state of shock when they found me and they started talking to me. So I was like a little dazed for that experience. And also we did a long interview and that was the only thing they kept, which is fine. I felt like what I said, I was kind of like the human embodiment of the shrug emoji. So it was funny. It was fine. It was a little out of context, but it was fine.
So I'm talking about on Netflix, there's a series that you guys can watch called Explained, and they do a bunch of different things. They're pretty quick and they're really good. And there's one on astrology, and the lovely lady we have here was on it, and you rocked. But I mean, honestly, getting your name out here, I thought you rocked. I know what you mean though. And that is a little bit what's scary about TV is the way that they cut it. And, you know, but what can you do?
I love the show Explained. I should just
it's
say,
good.
And I really liked that episode. I thought it was a great episode. And also, everyone should watch it because it explains things.
Gender wage gap was really good.
Yes. Yes.
Judicial system was good. It's just really good. And it's really nice to like watch that kind of stuff right now. I wanted to walk through, you know, you talked a lot about the rituals that you have in your day. Could you walk us through some of, you know, like a day in your life and the rituals that you do?
Sure. Okay. Sure. I'm all like, oh shit, which day? But okay. So coffee, it has to have ginger and cardamom in it. I know that wasn't what you thought I was going to start with, but literally nothing happens before the coffee.
It wasn't. You are psychic. Yeah. Why ginger and cardamom?
Because it's freaking delicious. I challenge you to grind ginger and cardamom seeds into your coffee beans, and you will have zero regrets. It will be like the greatest thing you've ever done to yourself. If you drink coffee. You drink coffee? You drink coffee.
I don't. I like matcha.
I'm that jerk. I just love coffee. You do drink it, yeah?
I do, but I've decreased the amount that I drink. So I drink 1 cup a day.
1 cup is nice.
But I love it.
You're like, 1 cup is nice. It's not 4.
It's not 4. It's not 4. That's exactly right. So I drink coffee. I do the things that so many people do, which is check emails and social media. So I do all those kinds of things first. I shouldn't. I hope kids at home don't do what I do because it's terrible. But that is what I do first. And I should say that part of what kind of like connected to what you're saying about this idea of like, oh, I didn't consider like you have to practice being a medium. It's like, I have a desk job. I am a psychic medium. I am an astrologer, but I work at a desk all day long. And administration is a huge part of my business. And it's a huge part of the service I provide, because responding to people in a timely fashion is holding a container for them. So, it's not what people tend to think of when they think of what I do, but it is a lot of what I do. So I do all of that. And then when I get to the office, where do I go? I do a bunch of energy work. I do energy work to clear the space. I do energy work to set shills and boundaries, energy boundaries on myself. I kind of like clarify intention for the day. And what else do I do? Yeah, I do more clearing of the space, not just energy work. I'll use sage or some other tool. I will often break up cat fights because my studio is in a backyard and there are hella cats out here. And then what else will I do? And then generally it's back to the computer work, whether it's like writing columns, working the podcast that I make or whatever else. And then I do readings usually. And that is its own magic. And then when the person leaves, I clear the space, do more energy and boundary work, and then prepare for the next person. And on we go.
Wow. Have there been any messages coming through maybe recently, like universal messages that have surprised you in readings or from spirit?
How do you mean by universal?
Like kind of that we all could hear, like could use to hear,
I would say that we're at a really pivotal time globally and certainly domestically. And the message that I kind of feel deeply called to pass on in a million different forms and contexts is, with empathy and humanity, the choices we make moving forward in our individual lives and in society will be good for everyone. And when we abandon our empathy and we abandon our humanity to get to the answer, to get the money, to get whatever, we are in big trouble. And I do think that, we are at a intense time. It's a little bit of a scary time. And the way to respond to the fear of the unknown is to activate and to get involved in whatever way you can. And there are so many levels on which we need people to be engaged in the protection of the vulnerable and the kind of like where we go next as a society and as a people. And turning away, saying it's not your business, it's not what you're good at, or that you don't care, is a very, very dangerous approach. And so the kind of as you're calling it, like the universal call that I am hearing is understanding that we are connected, and what we do and what we choose to not do will have consequences, and they do involve you, and they involve your neighbor, and caring about your neighbor is the fucking, it's the shit. It's the thing we're supposed to do. But yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Register to vote.
Register to vote.
Register to vote. God damn it.
God damn it. Tweet at people, call people, do shit.
Literally.
Yeah.
I love that. What you do and what you don't do also matters. I think that's very, very important. And I need to take that advice for myself. So I just did.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
So what are some, for our listeners and women, so a lot of them are going through their Saturn return. So what can you tell us about that period, I guess? And what are some practices that people that are going through the transitionary time where they're figuring out their career, their relationships, who they are, et cetera, what are some tools or practices that they can lean on to help keep them grounded during this time?
So that's a great question. And there's like lots of parts to the question. So first of all, the Saturn return happens around 29 years old. But for about 2 years leading up to it, you're in it. You feel it. And then for about 2 years after it, you are integrating it. And then 33 happens, your Christ year. That is a whole other freaking thing. We will
Christ year. What's the Christ year, honey? There's new.
Wait, finish the Cancer and then we got to get into the Christ year.
Oh, we're going to get into the Christ year. I'm very excited. Okay.
It's called the Krista year.
Because we're closer to the Christ year than literally.
Are you like 31, 32 right now?
Yeah, 31.
So basically, okay, so this is like the broad strokes, right?
Okay.
You hit around 27 and you're like, oh my God, I'm running out of time. I'm old. Who are these people I call my friends? What am I doing with my life? Who is this person that I'm dating? Should I get married? Should I get divorced? Should I go back to school? Am I about to graduate? Like you start thinking about these big things. And the reason why the punks say live fast, die young is so that you don't ever cross the line of the Saturn return. Because after the Saturn return, you're not willing to compromise and deal with a bunch of bullshit in the same way as you are before the Saturn return. The reason why is because before your first Saturn return, you are a child. Now, don't at me. I'm not trying to make you feel bad for being 26 and calling you a child. From an astrological viewpoint, we are in the phase of development of our childhood. So when you're 26, 27, you're in the old age of your childhood, right? And we enter into our adulthood at around 29, and we stay in that cycle for about 29 years. And then we go through our next Saturn return. So if you thought there was one, you was wrong. It is a life. Saturn governs cycles of maturity and development. It is related to aging, but it's also related to embodiment, the embodiment of who you are as a consequence of what you choose to do and be, right? So the reason why people have such a hard time during the Saturn return, if you talk to people who are like 30 or older, they're going to be like, oh, my Saturn return, it's so stressful. And the reason why is because the ways in which you are not living appropriately, self-appropriately, become excruciating. They become really painful. Wow. And most of us make a shit ton of compromises in order to be the adult we think we're supposed to be, or live the life we think we're supposed to live. And the Saturn return is actually this amazing opportunity to be like, oh, wow, I'm really fucking off base in this place. Whatever really hurts is where we're supposed to point our attention, because it's where we are kind of on call to become more whole, to figure our shit out. And so the kind of like time leading up to it is where we often are like clearing out our lives. We're like breaking up with our friends. We're realizing that, you know, the way we've been lying to ourselves isn't working anymore, or whatever it is. We do all these things. And then the Saturn return hits, and it can last a week or two, or it could last a whole year. It's like personal how long it actually lasts. And the kind of specifics of it are specific to one's birth chart, which I can't read everybody's birth chart and, you know, in a general explanation, but Saturn return happens, crisis, shit goes down, and then it's over. You're 30, 31, 32, and you're like, I'm moving along. Wow, that was hard. Okay, I'm figuring things out. You forget about it. You move on with your life. And then 33 comes. Shit Christ year. And the Christ year is really important, because it's like, if they call it that because it's for the double Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. I should say, and I hope this is not like an inappropriate thing for me to say, because I'm Jewish. I was not raised religious, but I have seen Jesus Christ Superstar a couple times. And so what I understand of the Christ story is that it was his Saturn return. It was 29 to 33, and he was nailed to the cross at 33 at the apex of the Saturn return. Now, are other of you Jesus people? Do you know if I'm telling you the truth? Was that really the whole
Actually, really interesting. I think it is 33. True. Like, yeah, we grew up Catholic, but couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
like,
literally. All I know is there's weird shit that went down, but that sounds right to me.
Okay, yeah. So
Jesus Christ. I feel like we should just like go through the Jesus Christ Superstar.
That movie. It is a great movie.
It's so good.
It is. And in the movie, it's kind of like, is he bipolar? Is he really talking to God? And that's kind of the theme of the Saturn return in a way, you know, not to poo-poo on the Jesus story and those who find meaning from it, but it's really this relationship to patriarchy, you know, this idea of hierarchy and what is it? What kind of authority are we able and willing to take? What are we willing to give up to be the person we want to be? That is a lot of what the Saturn return is. And so if you want like a hot tip on how to do your Saturn return, it's be honest with yourself. It's show up. It's do the goddamn work, because what you do now is not only the closure of your childhood, it's the opening of your adulthood. So what you do now sets the stage for who you were going to become. And there's lots of chances to change it, but it's a powerful foundation setting time. So back to 33, when you're 33, it's almost like all the shit you kind of like chose to ignore or forget about from your Saturn return that is yet unmanaged comes back to bite you in your sweet little hiney. Or if you've been doing your homework and you've really been learning and growing and integrating your Saturn return, it can be a year where things really come together for you and you see kind of, again, the consequence of your action. And that's what Saturn's about. It's consequence to action. And there's other planets in astrology that are kind of mysterious or spontaneous. And you're like, where the fuck did that come from? But with Saturn, it's action consequence. It's always rooted in the past. And some people will say like past karma, I will say your past actions as a person with agency in this life. Yeah.
Good one, honey.
That's
Learn
a new
something.
one. Yeah, that's a new one. That's something to look forward to.
Wow.
Well, here's the other thing though, is that then when Saturn squares itself at around 7 years after the Saturn return, so around 35-ish, that's fantastic. It's a time where you really get to make your first adult adjustment. So all these people who are like, oh my God, I'm 25, I'm so old. So then I say,
not my friends.
Exactly. No, I say you have been an adult for less than 5 years. Most of your experiences are as a child, like a literal child. Wow. And so when you're 35, most of your adult experiences, I mean, what, you have maybe 15 years adult experiences, maybe, but most of your life experiences are still your childhood. Until that you can say that most of your adult experiences actually happen in adult years, you ain't old. Don't worry about it. You got time.
You ain't.
Yeah.
What happened to you at your 33rd year?
Oh, my 33rd year. Let me remember. It was a long time ago.
You honestly look 26.
That is really nice and specific, oddly.
She said you were 6 years old. What do you think about that?
That's very nice. Thank you. No, I'll be 44 in a couple months. So I like to round up because I'm a Capricorn. So I like to I like to own the year ahead before I get there. So I feel like, I'm only 44. But yeah, I'm 43. I'll be 44. So at 33, what year was that? Do you remember 10 years ago?
10 years ago, 2008?
Shit. Why couldn't I do that math? That's a good question. That's an embarrassing question to have on TV. God, 2008. I don't remember. It was good though. I remember really being like, I got it. I think I'd had a lot of health crises in my Saturn return because I have Saturn in the 6th house, which is the health house. So I had a lot of health crises that forced me to get into my body and prioritize it over other things.
Wow. BioClarity is an easy-to-use 3-step skincare routine that I love, Krista loves. We stand by it 100% because it's 100% vegan, plus it's gluten and cruelty-free. It's delivered straight to our doors, and it really works. So I want to talk about what I'm using right now. So they have 2 routines. I'm using the clear skin routine. I'm an adult. I have adult acne. I need to keep after it. So this is for combination oily or breakout prone skin. It's 3 easy steps: the cleanse, the treat, and the restore. And these contain nourishing plant extracts like chamomile, so it's cooling and really soothing, green tea, cucumber, licorice root, oat kernel, plus the Floralux, which is the green stuff in plants. It's made from the chlorophyll. And all of these in combination, super easy, 3 steps, help to fight breakouts, soothe the skin, minimize redness, and reduce your pore size. And what I found with BioClarity is that my skin isn't red and flaky and dry after this system, especially after the treat, which you put on the areas that are breaking out. It keeps it really hydrated and it clears up my breakouts the next day. It's pretty crazy. So no harsh ingredients, and you will see a difference, I swear. They say 2 weeks. I saw a difference in 1. Also, they have new masks, which I am loving. I love the clarifying mask. So this really purifies my pores. It evens skin tone and texture. And sometimes I have big pores, like I can see my pores, and this really helps to make them almost non-existent. And it doesn't over dry your skin. It contains tea tree, aloe, and Floralux. And I just love it. It's kind of like my new go-to mask when I'm doing a mask every Friday night. So if you want to try BioClarity and join our secret Facebook group, they blow up about BioClarity. They all love it. You can just get started by going to bioclarity.com. So that's bioclarity.com. And you will get the first month for 50% off plus free shipping. And this comes with a risk-free money-back guarantee when you use the code ALMOST30. So that's bioclarity.com. Use the code ALMOST30, ALMOST30, and you will get 50% off your first month plus free shipping.
Oh man, you guys, when Lindsey and I made Almost 30, the real deal business, I actually put out some feelers to my Instagram people and asked what entrepreneurs and creatives use to organize their business and to stay on top of everything, all the invoicing, basically how they manage their clients and customers. There was a resounding answer from all of those people. They love HoneyBook. So we've been using HoneyBook with Almost 30 to help us manage our invoicing, help us stay on top of things with clients, and really just have a one-stop shop for seeing what's going on with the business for everyone to look at and keep track of.
Yeah, it just streamlines everything. And it also just makes you look really professional.
Yep.
You know, kind of helps you to walk that walk before you feel like you're even ready. So if you're a photographer, designer, event professional, and any other solopreneurs, you can save hundreds of hours, if not thousands, which I feel like we have. So for a limited time, Almost 30 listeners can get 50% off the first year of HoneyBook with promo code ALMOST30. HoneyBook membership includes unlimited access to all features at one low monthly price. So you can go to honeybook.com and use our code ALMOST30 to get started. So that's honeybook.com, promo code ALMOST30 to get 50% off the first year of HoneyBook. How can we look up our houses?
Okay, well, this is what my
You guys should see she's adjusting her glasses.
That's what I do. Okay, so this is the thing that is annoying for people maybe on Instagram, but I swear by this, is that I am much less interested in signs. Like when I lecture to astrologers, I teach astrology to astrologers, and you'll rarely hear me talking signs. Because it's the least of it. The houses are where magic happens, like deep magic. So in order to know the houses in your birth chart, you need to know your exact time of birth and your location of birth. And so in order to do that, and then you need either an astrologer or like an astrology program, which are sometimes a little unreliable. If you put in the wrong time of birth, you will not get the correct chart. So don't do it, is my advice for listeners. But you don't know your charts?
Well, I know
I have it.
I don't have my houses, but I know my signs.
Yeah, I don't know how to find the houses.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, can we do this while we're on the podcast? Or is that,
yeah.
You edit the podcast, right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
This is great, but no.
Okay.
Finally, it's about us.
Okay, great. But it just will take me a second to pull this up. So let me first of all tell you, if you're not looking at a circle, a wheel, you are not looking at your chart. Okay, so who goes first? I'm going to pull you both up.
Lindsey can go first.
I have it right here.
I can pull mine up.
Do you want me to put it up to the thing?
No, just tell me your birth date.
September 14th, 1987 at around 9:33 a.m.
Around 9:33 a.m.?
It is 9:33 a.m.
Okay.
On the chart, it's telling me 9:50. I don't know why. But
Princeton what?
New Jersey.
That's what I thought. You're a Jersey girl. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me say this. If the thing you're looking at has the wrong time, then it is wrong what you were looking at. Not to brag. Okay, so look at you. Okay. No, but seriously, what do you want to know? Because I can tell you everything. What do you want to know?
I want to know.
Where do we start?
We can start anywhere, but you do have Saturn in the second house.
What's that house?
That is the house of money, your personal finances, your personal possessions, and also what you value. It's like your value system. And having Saturn in the second house, and are you comfortable with me being honest and talking about real shit?
Yeah, of course.
It does give you money issues. It gives you scarcity issues around money, whether or not you actually have experienced scarcity. And the way that you respond to that is really based on this here T-square I'm seeing between your sun-moon opposition pointing towards Mars. It looks like you really vacillate around how you respond to money. Is like, I will spend it as though I am the queen
That's
of all,
true.
or you can be penny pinching weirdo.
I haven't experienced that yet.
She's really giving with it. So it's like, I feel like it's like, she has all of it to give.
Interesting.
I'm done.
So here's my question. Here's my question for you then. Do you save money?
Yeah. So I just started in the last year really doing well saving money. Like before that, I wasn't able to because I think I was just I was like paying all my bills, all my rent, which I was not kind of like penny pinching on. I was living where I wanted to live. I was doing what I wanted to do. But now I'm making more money and able to kind of see it almost visually. Like this is where I can kind of funnel this here and into savings. So I'm a visual person. I kind of
That's
feel
great.
that way.
And it's great that you're doing this now so that when 33 hits you, you're actually not going to have money issues as your lesson, because that's the risk of it with that Saturn placement. But, you actually have, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Give me the love.
You're so fun. You're so fun.
Thanks. So are you guys. Also, I'm secretly so jealous of that juice that you're drinking. What is
I'm sorry. It's celery juice.
Oh my God, it looks so good. Don't be sorry. I'm jealous. You're actually going through so much shit right now. It's a lot. It is a lot what's happening in your chart right now. You have Uranus conjoining your natal Jupiter, squaring your midheaven. Neptune is squaring your moon and opposite your Mars. And that one, the last one's on the tail end. Pluto is trining your sun. And Neptune is squaring your Saturn. So, and Saturn is conjoining your Neptune. Okay, that was a lot to say, and I know it wasn't English.
No, I was like, got it.
You're like, but it's, I think like if I was kind of going to give you the upshot, and I will preface this by saying for, people listening who are like into astrology, right, is that your signs are like a very small part of what astrology is. And every planet is in a sign, and every planet is in a sign and in a house. And then there are aspects, which is the math between the planets and what they mean. And then there's like other layers and layers and layers of information. And then where astrology is actually useful and accurate is in the synthesis of those details. There are so many details to memorize with astrology, but the synthesis is where the magic actually happens. And so, and that just takes practice, hella practice. So, I would say there's so many things happening in your chart. But what I would say is that this is not a
just took off her glasses.
I did.
She's a little stressed.
She's
a little stressed. She doesn't know where to go. I'm sweating.
It's true, but it's good. It's good. You are changing. Like you are changing in so many ways and on so many levels that it's really hard to track what the fuck that means. You don't mind that I drop F-bombs.
No,
right?
no.
Okay, great. You're not.
Oh, no.
It's happening. But it's hard to know whether you're coming or going right now. Maintaining and managing your physical health, but also your psychic health is your job. Okay. So there's so many things happening with your career and in your personal, like really close relationships that it would be easy to be distracted in that direction and kind of abandon your own self-care and not grow and mature your self-care at the same pace that the rest of your life is growing. But it would be a mistake that again would bite you in buns. So be careful about that. I'm really glad you're saving money. And do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
Okay, good. It's not that personal, but do you fuck with boys? Are you straight? Do you like boys?
Okay. I knew it was coming.
I'm straight, yeah.
You did?
Straight.
I fuck with boys.
She was been a dude in every other life.
Interesting. Okay. So, and are you in a relationship with a dude right now?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to talk to you about safer sex.
I knew it.
Let's say it one more time.
Yeah. Let's talk about safer sex for a minute here. Do you tend to have safer sex?
Milana Snow just told me, she's like, you're very fertile. Be careful.
She's fertile as fuck.
Yeah. She's fertile. She's so fertile. And also there's something else about this, which is for you to prioritize your own physical health and wellness above any dude is a spiritual lesson for you. And making sure that there are certain relationship things in place before the condom comes off is so important for you. I mean, I think it's common sense for anyone, but for you, it's a lesson. And learning how to prioritize your own physical wellness is actually a big part of your life lessons. And there's a way that you're good at it until you get into relationships, and then you defer to other people and you defer to whatever's happening in front of you instead of remembering to refer back to the self and then collaborate between what you need and what the situation best requires. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yes. I feel like
no one's ever said that to us.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. I have to kind of like let that sink in. I haven't had sex in a second, but when I was kind of like, I kind of go through cycles and waves of like kind of being out there and then not being out there and really being by myself. But when I'm out there, and especially like in my mid-20s, I was reckless as hell.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
when it came to sex.
It looks like you have a tendency. I mean, there's reckless, and then there's and spontaneous and fun, enjoying. And then there's also
it's all that, but it's like dumb.
Abandoning self, right? There's both ends of it. And I think that when I look at your chart, you do both. I think there's some of it is just like, I'll have fun now and think about it later. And then some of it's actually like abandonment of self. And you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And they both take different remediation, and being able to kind of like name the parts and see the parts allows you to treat the different parts differently. You don't want to like pathologize the fact that, you like being wild sometimes. And that's really different than you like being reckless. Right. Also, do you mind if I ask you about your alcohol consumption?
Yeah.
Do you drink a lot?
No, not anymore. I used to.
Yeah. That was part of the reckless behavior, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Jupiter opposite the ascendant, generally, it can be a little bit of a drinker. Let me just put it that way. And it's not in your best interest because of all the obvious reasons, but also because giving yourself permission to be spontaneous without any facilitator is actually really healthy and wonderful for you. And because you have so much Virgo in your chart, Mars, Sun, Venus conjunct in Virgo, that's not the most spontaneous sign in the world. But because Mars is involved and Sun is involved, it is a more risk-taking and courageous way for Virgo to play itself out, if that makes sense. You are bold, and you are meant to be bold. So don't let anyone dim your light.
Thank you.
That is my take on that. Do you want me to answer any questions since I'm actually in your chart?
Does it say when she'll meet the one?
What is the one? Do you want to be married?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you want human babies?
Yeah.
Alien one.
You want an alien baby?
I'll have alien.
They're
or
harder to
human
get,
baby.
I hear.
Yeah.
But you want human babies and you want partnership?
Yeah.
You want it now?
No, doesn't necessarily. It's a hot topic, I feel like, because I've been single for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's lots of layers. And honestly, if we were doing like a one-on-one reading, we would spend 45 minutes of our hour on this topic easily, because within your chart are two different themes, really strong. Well, there's several themes articulated around intimacy issues, but there's two that I kind of would, in broad strokes, name. And one is your tendency to date with your dick, your tendency to like be attracted to dynamic, engaging, exciting, and fun. And then there's the other part of you, which is that Saturn moon opposition square to Mars, which is very private, slow to trust. You take shit very seriously, and you don't really have energy for like fuck boys. You want a partner. And the problem with this is, in order to get a partner, you have to have a stranger to hang out with and like date. And like, it's like pacing yourself through the stages is what's uncomfortable, because you know how to be a partner. I imagine all your best friends would attest to that you're like an amazing ride or die kind of partner. But the vulnerability involved in building trust and getting to that place is where your intimacy issues live. And, this is a tricky thing for you to work with and work around. And right now, developmentally, you're in a stage of development where you are having a very personal, very spiritual struggle is the wrong word, but time around figuring out what are the boundaries of what you're willing to do with guys and what you're not willing to do. What are the boundaries with yourself? Where do you abandon yourself with men? Like you're in this really, it's hard to put language to it because it's not exactly where you're at in the process yet. I honestly think that if you were to meet the perfect man right now, it's not the perfect time. It's just not the perfect time. And there is such a thing as a good time and a bad time, And the reason why this isn't a great time is because you're actually doing other work on yourself. You're figuring out how to have boundaries, not in reaction to someone, but an embodiment of the self. And you are flip-flopping around what that means. And that's part of your process. That's kind of how you do. You like run into the wall and then you run away from the wall and jump into the pool. And then you're like, oh my God, no, how about the fire? And then you run into the fire and then you figure it out. This is kind of your move. And so don't fight the process. And I would say that for you, if I was in the market of giving you advice, which I'm about to do, so Karen. But what I would say for you is giving yourself permission that you're going to take, let's say 3 months, let's say a few months, right? Where you're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm just doing me. And I'm open if I meet somebody to following through with that experience, but I'm actually not going to pursue it for 3 months, so that you can tell that voice in your head that's constantly like, where, when, how, am I doing enough? Just shut up. It's like basically like give it a DVD and a headphone, put it in the back of the car. I don't know why it was DVD. It could be a streaming movie. It doesn't matter. But like distract it, tell it to have a seat, and then come back to it later. Give yourself a chance to actually be where you're at, because the fear is if you do that you'll never get there, that you're like putting it off. But the reality is that's the quickest way in, is actually just giving yourself permission to do what you're doing now and to be where you're at now. And this is a scary process, but it's not a bad process. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's my quick read on you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a question for me?
That was a gift. No, I'm just taking that in. Thank you.
It is utterly my pleasure. Should I do another reading?
Sure.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So March 9th,
3/9. What's the year?
1988.
88. I had a really curly mullet that year. Just
Hell
saying.
yeah.
What time?
3:33
AM or PM?
Weird, mine was.
PM
Where?
in Hamilton, Ohio.
Hamilton, Ohio. Big city Hamilton. Oh,
Hell
snap.
yeah.
Is that in Butler or Monroe?
Butler County.
Okay, great. Don't you love it when, you don't know this, but I know this because I'm an astrologer, that hella states have like multiple small towns with the exact same name. And you're like, for why would you do this?
Yeah, literally.
For why? Oh, you have Saturn in the 5th and you have a Capricorn stellium. Look at you. Okay. What do you want to know? You're also going through, wow. You guys, is the podcast blowing up right now?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's so exciting because both of your charts have Uranus seriously impacting your midheavens. So this is like your full-time job now, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Congratulations. This is amazing. Create infrastructure, because there's like all this energy that is driving your charts, both of your charts. Yeah, there's so much that the two of you can be doing with this. So hopefully you have support and like people who know what the hell they're doing, who can like point you. But how can you're going through your Saturn return right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You didn't know?
No. Oh, maybe. It's always crazy. It's always crazy over here.
You're going through your Saturn return as we sit here speaking. Hold, please. I will look at my ephemeris, but that's an ephemeris.
Wow.
And let me...
So is mine a week or a year or what?
Oh, let me tell you the exact dates of your Saturn return.
Wow.
Your Saturn return began December 21st, 2017, and it will be over on, hold please, that's 3, the 18th of October, 2018.
Wow.
Coming
Yeah.
up.
2 weeks. And then what?
And then Saturn hits your natal Neptune, and then it hits your natal Mars, and then it's done with you.
Whoa.
Yeah, for a minute. So that'll be over within, by the spring of 2019. But basically, and are you partnered?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And are you married, partnered?
No, but we've been together a long time.
700, 700 years kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want human babies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really interesting that both of you have your careers exploding in the way that you do at this time, where you're both really looking within and like doing serious self-work. And you're doing very different kinds of self-work, but you're both really in it. And I guess the podcast is like a reflection of that, right?
Yeah.
But you are going through so much. I mean, I have a weird question for you.
No.
Has kids been like a conversation you guys have been having more recently?
Yeah, more about the engagement in kids. But I've always wanted to have kid, but I have I think I've always been told I have like a spirit attached to me already that's ready to come in. So maybe, but I don't know.
So I'll say this. You have something called Saturn in the 5th house. And from my perspective, that gives you a great sense of responsibility and duty around children. It makes you feel a sense of kind of like, I have to bring in this child. I have to do this thing. And there may be a spiritual truth to it, but I want to say that the way that your chart is written, agency is one of your big life lessons. You are allowed to say no to a spirit. You are allowed to say yes, but not now. And part of parenting on a spiritual level is having boundaries with your children before they're here. Because fun fact, I look at your birth chart and I can see what was going on in your parents' childhoods from your chart. So our parenting essentially begins before the children are even a consideration, you know? And so you get to have agency. And this is something that I see that in some ways is so obvious and clear and a big part of who you are. And in other ways is something you really struggle with because you are so good at being useful to people. You're so good at being of service to people. And so much of what your Saturn return is about is finding your voice within that and finding kind of your ground within it. And it looks like in the next, let me see, when does Neptune conjunction to the ascendant? And Saturn, you know, you have Uranus in the 5th house as well. Often I find that people with that, they have erratic ovulation, and that can kind of make conception a little bit tricky. And that could mean you get pregnant right away when you were planning on getting pregnant in a year. It could mean it takes a year. You know, it's unpredictable. That's what Uranus does. But starting next year, in May of 2019, you're going to enter into a 2-year period that is going to be really romantic. And are you a writer as well?
Yeah.
I like how you're nodding your head before she did. Okay. Yeah. Because, and are you working on something right now?
Yeah.
Really interesting your reaction. You got a real odd couple thing going on. I like it.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like there's going to be a major creative project, and I kind of get the feeling about writing, although I'm not sure what it is, but a major creative project coming up for you next year. Again, you're in a 2-year period. And it's going to, again, be really important that you have healthy boundaries. It's now that I'm looking at your chart, I'm like, oh, that's why you asked me about boundaries. Of course, that's because that's like your major work right now. And I think figuring out like, what is the boundary between being of service and being helpful and kind of martyring yourself in some way is kind of an important thing for you to be managing kind of always. And a good way of doing that is actually through, do you exercise? Yeah, I feel like it's like your lifeline. It's like when you use your body for you see things more clearly in general. And you're just going to have a lot of opportunities coming your way. You are also very fertile. I just see, unless you're real careful, my guess is in the next 2 years, you're going to have a human baby.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would say if that's not what you're looking for, I would encourage you to be careful. Yeah.
So gotta use condoms.
Condoms. Yeah. I would say so. You're going to be going through a Uranus conjunction to Venus, and again, that it can intensify fertility, but it also makes it unpredictable. It's like people just do random shit under this transit, and it's like super fun. There's not like a lot of downside to it, except if you're not trying to get pregnant and you like to hang out with D, then it can be a bit of an issue. So yeah, so that's the only thing you got to watch out for. Also, you guys are, I'm kind of interested, and this is for another time, but almost to do like the chart of almost 30 podcasts, like your collaboration.
Oh my God.
Because this is really like, you're both going through this incredibly electric time in your careers. It's really exciting. And what I really like to see now looking at both of your individual charts is that you have really different roles that you play. You're not like doing the exact same thing, because that can kind of lead to power issues. I'm not seeing that at all here. You know, I'm really seeing that you organically are well suited to doing different parts of this, and different kinds of opportunities are emerging for each of you as individuals as well as a team, which is really wonderful. I don't always see that in collaborations, as you could imagine. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
I guess, what are the other lessons? So it's boundaries,
embodiment.
Yeah.
And you know, so let me just list off like I did before. Uranus is conjoining your natal Jupiter. It is about to conjoin your midheaven and Venus. you have Saturn conjunct Uranus, Saturn itself, Neptune, and it's coming for your Mars. It's coming for your Mars. And then it'll sextile Pluto, and what else? And then Neptune is coming for your Sun, and Pluto is forming a sextile to your Sun. So, upshot time. The other things you need to pay attention to is that this is a time of major growth and development, and it's not the time for being conservative. And part of you is like, okay, how do I conserve? How do I grow up? How do I figure this out? And that is wise, but you want to pair that with risk and daring in deference to what's authentic for you instead of how it's supposed to be. The shitty part of social media is we all now know what's possible. We all now know how to do it, right? If I had come up as an astrologer, psychic, whatever, with social media, I would have had this idea of how it should be and how it shouldn't be. Now, I came up in a time where there was no models. And so I innovated my path, and it happened to work for me. And there's in a way, it's harder that way, but in a way, it's so much easier. And so, what do they say? I don't remember who said this quote that comparison is the thief of joy. And I would encourage you to really use that as like a motivator, because you don't need to do this any way but yours, period. And I say this, I mean your whole fucking life. Fitness, career, love, figure out what's authentic and whole for you instead of how you're supposed to do it, or the timing based on fear. That stuff is going to run through you because you got all that cap in you, but that's actually not in your best interest. What is in your best interest is to figure out who you are and to be a loving, boundaried and consistent parent to yourself through the parts of yourself that are growing and growing up. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And I do think that there's a health component to this. Do you have health issues?
No, people have asked that. Not right now.
Good. Yay. And again, I knocked on wood. But I do think that...
It's always good to hear.
I think that for you, your body is a little bit of a canary in a coal mine, And when you feel exhausted, when you feel really frustrated or irritable or off, it's because something's off. It's always because there's something off. And instead of analytically, cerebrally being like, what's wrong? I have to figure it out, because that doesn't work. It just makes you feel anxious. Instead, the work is to breathe, locate your feelings and emotions in your body, and to be present and to reconnect with your body. And then you'll receive the guidance more organically. Forcing things with your brain, it doesn't really serve you. Actually, it doesn't really serve you. And so I think that for you, if you are not having health problems, it is because you have already chosen, without needing a health problem to motivate you, to figure out who your body is and what she needs. And so you just want to stay with that, because in staying with that, you don't need a health problem to motivate you. Does that make sense? I would also say, do you eat meat? Okay. You have this Mars-Neptune conjunction in your birth chart. And what this tends to indicate is veganism or vegetarianism out of moralistic reasons. And it also tends to incline you to iron deficiency. And these two things are, of course, connected. So if you're going to live vegetarian or vegan, and I think you should avoid dairy, regardless of moralistic implications. But and of course, I'm not a doctor. Don't take medical advice from me, I think you really need to be conscientious about, high quality supplements, because your body doesn't do well with shitty synthetic things. It likes whole foods. And so you want your supplements to be plant-based, and you want to take them consistently, because it does look like there is a tendency to get deficient that is cyclical in your body. So you just need to be consistent with your body's care. If that makes sense. I'm a medical astrologer. I didn't say that, but I am a medical astrologer, medical intuitive as well. But I should also say, never listen to an astrologer or an intuitive over a doctor. Obviously, there's a lot in your chart about health.
Wow. Thank you.
My pleasure. I gave you guys readings.
That was
that was amazing. We got a noodle over that. That was so good.
We have a long car ride to come.
Literally
coming up, so we're gonna noodle.
We're gonna noodle over that.
I love noodling.
This was so amazing. You are so fun. You are so cool. You are so gifted. We are so grateful. Those messages, We do not take them lightly. So we are so thankful and we are so excited to introduce you to our audience if they don't know you already. Where could they find you? And then what is exciting for you that they can kind of learn more about you or connect with you?
Okay. First of all, thank you. People on podcasts can see I blush. I did it. Okay. Thank you. And so lovelanyadoo.com is my website. Upon the website, you can watch videos, listen to me talking so much, and read weekly and monthly horoscopes on social media at Jessica Lanyadoo on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I post most days. I post about the astrology or other spiritual content, and I post hella funny memes. So
yeah, I love your IG.
Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you so much. I like memes. I don't make memes, but I sure do like them.
Do you do readings over like Skype or Zoom for people that aren't located in your city?
Yeah, I mean, I do readings for people all over the world via Skype, phone, and also people in person. That said, I am booked up a year in advance.
Whoa!
I know.
Look at us.
I know. Look at you
in.
getting in early. So I'm not opening my calendar beyond a year in advance. So it's a little annoying for people. They have to like refresh my calendar. But I do have a weekly podcast called Ghost of a Podcast. And that is the thing I'm really excited about right now. It's very new. It's like not even 2 months old, but I do answer listener questions, and I am considering doing readings for people, like actually like calling people up on the phone and doing readings. So we'll see if I get there with that. But so people can send in questions and ask them to me on Ghost of a Podcast. There's like a page on my website for the podcast, and they can hit me up there. And that's what I'm really excited about. Also, I'm working on a book, an astrology book of intimacy issues. And that'll be out autumn of 2019. And I'm kind of excited about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, those are the big things. If people are in the Bay Area, I will be doing another evening of mediumship sometime in late 2018 or early 19 in San Francisco. So
let us know, because we're not too far. I mean, we go up there, kind of frequently. So
we could share. And then when you have your book, we'd love to have you on the podcast again, and we could talk more about that.
I would love
that. If you need people for full readings, you know where to find us.
That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Best.
You're the
This
best.
has been such a treat today. We are so thankful for you and so excited that we know you and we can connect more in the future.
Thank you so much. I've had a great time. Thanks for having me.
You're the best, Jessica.
You're welcome.
We'll
talk to you later
soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Oh yeah. So everyone, I'm going to die.
So now you know us.
So now you know I've got health problems and I'm going to die. I actually was I'm actually still feeling pretty off about that. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. I don't know what else to tell you.
I know, it's terrifying. But now
she basically said I was going to be alone. So
really? No. I was going to say, I didn't think that.
She's just like, it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't she also say like, what'd she say? She's like, are you straight? Or what did she say?
Oh, fuck. Yes. Oh,
it was amazing. Because like, honestly, in this day and age, you can't really assume anything.
You can't. That's the fact. That's the only fact. The only reason why I'm laughing is because
Lindsey lived every other lifetime as a boy.
Because she's a boy. She's my little boy. Either way, you're great. Straight or lesbian, if you want to come out, you're great. I love it all. Okay. Podcast review of the week. This podcast is everything. 5 stars. Hands down, my favorite podcast out there. And I'm quite the podcast binger. For one, Krista and Lindsey's authenticity is so refreshing and magnetic. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, are you two in my head with your intros? It's just so real and it feels like I'm catching up with my girlfriends. The two of you and the guests you bring on the pod have helped support me as I've gone through some major life changes, like a big career change, starting my own business, diving more into spirituality, and now a big international move. Also, the podcast is just funny, like laugh out loud funny. The two of you bring such lightness and good humor to real, vulnerable conversations. Thank you for all you do, and I can't wait to continue listening to your journey and attend one of your events. And if you're ever out in Bali, hey, Meg, Minneapolis. Shit, girl.
What'd she say?
That's a sign. She said, and if you're ever out in Bali. So I think she's moving to Bali.
Oh, cool.
And if you haven't listened yet, what on earth are you waiting for? Start. Thanks, Meg.
That's so sweet.
See you in Bali next year.
Yeah, truly.
We're going to do a retreat in Bali next year, guys.
Thinking about
Start saving your money.
Money, honey.
it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, it'll be so fun.
Okay, we love you. Thanks for listening.
We love y'all.
You're our best friends.
You're our best friends.
We'll see you later.
Thanks for being there. Bye-bye.
They are. Bye bye.